see the universe as that positive, expansive energy.
I just deeply believe that the universe, God, Source, is trying to get us all to upgrade our consciousness.
At the root of it is love. It's magic. From To Be Magnetic, this is the Expanded Podcast with your host, Lacy Phillips.
And your host, Jessica Gill.
As the leading destination for neural manifestation, we dispel the woo-woo in order to help you create real, tangible results based on neuroplasticity, psychology, epigenetics, and energetics. Our goal is to normalize the practice of manifestation and empower you to get into the driver's seat of your life in order to manifest the experiences, relationships, and things that most align with your authenticity. And by pressing play, the process begins.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Expanded. Jessica here. Today, we are diving into some pretty big topics. We have Lacy and Janelle on, and we really wanted to uncover and touch base on how the concept of spirituality, no matter what your belief systems are, if there's a religion you practice, whatever your relationship to spirituality is, how you can create space for that practice within TBM, and how having faith in something can actually be the medicine to help you through those hard times, to help you navigate those tests, those triggers, those rock bottoms. I read somewhere that it's not having the exact plan that gets you through those hard moments, it's having hope. And I think having hope and faith that something bigger and greater is out there for you after this challenging and turbulent time is the thing that allows us to move forward, to have that resilience, to get creative, to find solutions in difficult, challenging times. And so we're going to kind of explore the concept of spirituality. We're going to explore how you can bake in your version of spirituality with your TBM practice, how they can go hand in hand, how taking that inner accountability for what tests and triggers are coming up, or looking at what emotions need to be worked through or inner child parts need to be nourished, how that can interact with the world around you and the messages you're receiving and what you're learning about everything that's going on and the divine guidance that may be coming through your pings. So wherever you're at today, I want you to take a deep breath in, hold at the top, and a long, slow exhale. And just kind of shake off your hands and arms, because this is a big topic and it can be challenging for some, feel nurturing for others. But whatever your perception of spirituality is, I want you to just open your mind and see if there's any messages that come through today that feel true for you. Or even after listening to the episode today, are there things that this episode makes you start to think and get curious about that can positively impact your life and the world around you? And of course, stay tuned at the end when we're going to talk about the brand new Deep Imagining, which will help you get clear on your own energy. When you're taking in a lot of the energy and influx from the world around us, it's hard to really resonate with what our true authentic self and soul is connected to, is calling to. And it's a little practice that Lacy uses, and now everyone on the TBM team has been utilizing like crazy. And now all of you guys get a chance to use it to really just ground into your energy and check out what your authenticity is. Because at the end of the day, when we are in our authentic energy, we have the highest chance of creating magnetism and manifesting our desires. And it also is the place in which when we are in our authenticity, we can connect to our spirituality and our intuition even more so. It becomes more and more heightened. and our end of year challenge, which is going to be called the Authenticity Challenge. We're going to walk you through crafting your manifestation list, but we're also going to really fortify and walk you through connecting with your authenticity. So the first step is clearing your aura and getting connected. And then we're going to walk you through all the practices and tools to really understand who you uniquely, authentically are, what that means, how you can value that on a deep soul level. And then from that place, manifest your absolute dream, magnetic, authentic life. Okay, I hope you guys enjoy this one.
And now a word from our partners.
Whenever the seasons change or I'm in a period of high stress, I always make sure to double down on my immune support. And two products that I've absolutely been loving and cannot live without is the Beekeeper's Natural Propolis Immune Support Throat Spray and the Propolis Plus Vitamin C Liposomal. Propolis is a powerful combination of plant entry resin and enzymes made by the bees. The bees use it to protect their hive and fight against germs from outside invaders and making sure everyone is healthy and safe within the hive. When we use it, it helps support our immune system in the same way. It has vitamin C, iron, zinc, B vitamins. It's high in antioxidants, polyphenols, flavonoids, helps to fight free radicals, oxidative stress. It's studied to be antimicrobial and antifungal to help fight germs. This thing is a freaking powerhouse. I absolutely love using the throat spray during the workday with phone calls and podcasts and after fatiguing my voice. When my vocal cords start to feel weak and run down, I love using their throat spray to just like boost my immune and support that entire area. It's also fantastic before you go out in public or if you know you're going to be in a high germ area. And then recently, as I've been moving, my stress levels have been going up, trying to manage everything going on. And so I've been doubling down on their liposomal packets. I've been taking one a day just to really support, give myself that boost of vitamin C. And I'm not kidding, my skin has been glowing. If you listen to any of our skin podcast episodes, vitamin C is a key nutrient in helping to support the skin. And I've noticed taking it internally in the liposomal form with the addition of the propolis has been game changer. So join me and up-level your medicine cabinet this season with clean, natural, effective products that actually work. Beekeepers Natural is offering you an exclusive discount code if you go to beekeepersnaturals.com/TBM or enter code TBM, all caps, for 20% off your order. Again, that's beekeepersnaturals.com/TBM or use code TBM, all caps, for 20% off your order. They are also available at Target, Whole Foods, Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens. But I know personally, I like to order online because one, I get to apply our discount code, and two, I get to get bulk pack. So I can get multiple of the throat spray at once, which gives me a bigger discount in the long run. And as always, you can check out the show notes for a direct link to any of the products mentioned.
All right, on to the episode.
Today we're diving into the universe, spirituality, our auras, all of the things, all of the cool, fun, witchy, but also grounded practices with TBM. Welcome, Lacy and Janelle. So one place I wanted to start off with was I was listening to the audiobook of The Awakened Brain by Lisa Miller, and I think a TBMer actually recommended it to me. But in that, she studied the impact of having any spiritual belief on your mental health, your cognition, all of these things. And the results of her study showed that, I'm going to read them so I don't butcher the data, but it said, Miller's research found that people who regularly practice spirituality, now that means whatever spiritual practice that you may have, are 80% more resilient to depression and other mental health risks. They also found people with more spiritual practices have a healthier brain structure, a thicker cortex in the outermost surface of the cerebral cortex, that spirituality can lead to less depression, less anxiety, less substance abuse, and more positive psychological traits like grit, resilience, optimism, and tenacity. It can lead to greater creativity, collaboration, ethics, and innovation. When I heard that, I was like, I feel like I've known that on a soul level for a long time, but the fact that there's evidence behind it got me really curious about what is it about a spiritual practice that we think can draw that out in people? What do we think is the secret sauce in spirituality that as human beings, it gives us more peace of mind and ability to get through the tough things?
I love that we're having this conversation because I've explored so many spiritual practices, religions, and I think it'll be an interest of mine until I die. I love them, but I would say my hypothesis is that I believe that people have something outside of themselves that they can hand their troubles over to, that's faith, and they can trust that they can be taken care of. So it's like you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders. There's something out there that loves you when maybe you have not received any type of attunement in your life and stuff. So that would be my intuition to that question, for sure. I come from a family that's extremely prone to deep depression. We're talking about like manic on my dad's side, deep bouts of depression. And it saved me multiple times from going very, very deep, of having in very dark periods of time, those true desperate rock bottoms. Having a higher power has been tremendous for me. And, you know, I don't want to step on anyone's toes because I know there's chemical contribution. There's a lot that contributes to that. But I could see that statistic being accurate.
Yeah, Janelle, what do you think? Given also you grew up very religious, how do you see the tie-in?
I know, you guys, this is such a loaded topic. It's such a tender topic too. So I want to be really mindful of that. But I mean, you know, I've shared before, I'm a pastor's daughter of a conservative Christian church when I was in high school and a little bit in my early 20s. And I was also a pastor's wife for like 13 years. So this is such a deeply personal topic to me. And I was introduced to God, literally remember at age 5, and accepting God in my heart and being introduced to spirituality and a connection to God at a very early age, which I'm very, very grateful for. But my journey went through a number of really hard things and saw a number of really hard things that eventually let me out of religion. And my younger self would die that I'm, you know, deeply connected to a manifestation company now. What on earth? And what's wild is this work has deeply connected me back, which actually, I think the thing I'm most grateful for with TBM is connecting me deeply back to my spirituality. But yes, to echo what Lacy said, that's basically where I've landed now, is in like the divine source mystery, that we are deeply loved by a creator that cares deeply about us and wants good for us. So that belief still anchors deep within me. And what's so interesting, instead of it being about believing the right things to connect with spirituality, to me now it's like, as I get deeper in touch with my own authenticity and self, the closer I'm able to actually to connect with the divine and source. So it's kind of backwards of what I was originally taught.
It's like less prescriptive. It's less like I have to do and be this in order to earn this connection. The more I am myself, I can access the connection.
Exactly.
Just to kind of cycle back into how this sort of ties in. Obviously, TBM is very backed by neuroscience, psychology, and all of the tools and overriding your beliefs. I mean, you could practice TBM and not even touch the spiritual aspect of it at all because you're overriding limiting beliefs based off neuroscience and the psychological tools. But there is this element and this magic, especially at the roots of TBM, is this spirituality. And I love what you said, Janelle, where it's like how the TBM practice allowed you to reconnect to your own definition, source, conversation of what that looks like for you to connect to your intuition, what intuition is connecting to of the universe, how you're dancing with the universe, how you're co-creating with the universe, and how there is no other human interference. It's you and your connection to the universe. There is no pedestalizing in any other out form. It's just that connection you have. And I got this question a few times recently asking, responding back to our videos of like, well, what is the universe? I think there's a couple things here. One, I think everyone can define the universe exactly how it most identifies and relates to them. So it's not like there's one definition and that's the fact. It's like, what is your interpretation? What is resonant to you? What lands to you? That is what is true for you, period. But I'm curious what your guys' interpretation of the universe is right now at this moment in chapter in your life. It may evolve, it may change, but what is ringing true for you about how you understand and connect to the universe?
I love this scene. I watched that movie Gifted recently. Have you guys ever seen that? I loved it. It was a really, it's just one of those like really feel good, well written films. Anyway, there's this scene in it, right? It's a heavy mathematician, brilliant family, and the hero, the brother, who's just a regular guy raising this genius niece of his. She said, "Is there a God?" The niece, she's in at 7. And he said, "I don't know. Nobody knows. Whatever you want to believe is fine, but nobody knows. There's no way to answer that question factually." And I just really like that, to reiterate what you just said, Jessica, is everybody who's tuning into TPM, I don't know what the universe is. I have no clue what that is, but what I have is a belief for myself. So I love that we're addressing it as like, what is that for us individually in this moment? I want to give licensing to everybody to have your own individual theory and relationship, because absolutely nothing that you're tuning into or everything that you're tuning into, nobody knows. Just let yourself have that liberation, regardless of a method you're learning, a spiritual practice you're practicing, from Kundalini to Kabbalah to like whatever. Nobody knows. So what is your relationship with it? So my personal relationship at this moment, if I'm really, tuning into my own personal intuition, I actually don't even see a higher power as a God or a person. I really do see it a lot more. My intuitive connection with it, when I'm channeling and I'm tuning into it, it actually does feel more like what is expressed in consciousness. It feels like an energetic, all connected, kind of more of what physics says in a sense. It doesn't feel like a figure or a thing that we've named. It actually feels like total cosmic oneness, consciousness, that at the root of it is love. It is pure love and here for love and to connect everything with like harmony and love. That's what it feels like to me. What about you, Janelle?
Yeah, I remember first kind of deconstructing. It was very scary to not know. It was so terrifying. And then it was like the most liberating thing to go, it's a divine mystery. And then it was so comforting to know, like, yeah, no, I mean, unless you die and come back and say, hey, here's what happens on the other side, guys, we don't know, right? We all are just theorizing and can have ideas, absolutely. But to let it be just that, a divine mystery, is like so comforting to me. When I'm at a DI, this beautiful white energy is around, in me, around me, in all things. And it's like deeply comforting to know it's more of just a matter of like connecting and dropping into that energy that to me is loving and compassionate and generous and kind. And it's all things really good and beautiful. And it drops you into safety. So to me, that's my connection now. It's more of a, I guess, universal energy. And I am with you, Lacy, and I think Jessica too, in that I believe that people can connect to this source through all different means and might have different seasons where different religions or spiritual practices really connect with them and meet them. And it's not wrong, but yeah, where I've landed now is more in just, I guess my words of using is just connection to source.
I feel like I echo really both of what you're saying too. How I would define universe for myself at this chapter is, yes, that it's a all-loving, energy source. It is something to tap into. I see it as fully benevolent. Like, it is not punishing you. It is not going to harm you. I don't see the universe as something that is reactive or vindictive or punishing in any sort of way. Because I know a lot of times people are like, well, how do you explain this loving energy if all these horrible things are happening? I'm like, I don't see that as the love energy source of the universe. I see that as a different sort of energy source that's happening. It's like things out of our control. It's very esoteric, but it's like if you think about even atoms, positive and negative reactions to things. I see the universe as that positive, expansive energy. And then there, is going to be the opposite in a lot of different ways. And so can we tap into the loving source energy that we have the ability to connect to? And I think it's also this feeling of the sensation. I feel like so many people have had this experience, whether it's in meditation or when their child is born or when they look at their partner or maybe they're on mushrooms. I don't know, but they have that moment where they're like, oh my gosh, I feel it. I feel that all encompassing oneness, connection, like we are all connected through this loving source. And it's really intangible to describe. It's not really even something I think as humans we can be like, it is this prescriptive thing. It's like this sensation. And maybe we're not supposed to describe it. Maybe we're supposed to feel it and move despite having made it so physical. And I think too, when in the DIs, when we bring forward like a spiritual figure, a healing figure, sometimes I do make it human, but I'm aware that I'm giving that energy a human form because it helps my brain process it more.
Or especially a DI, a visual. But we also use other aspects of it. We use color, we use a lot of different aspects of that. So,
or divine masculine or feminine.
Totally. Sun, moon, back to your description of balance. There's two sides to create the balance. Just so interesting when you're even in that frequency in general, which I think we're all sort of talking about in our description. It's magic. The infinite is possible. There's pure magic in it.
Which is why no matter what religion, background, belief system, whatever you ascribe to, you can make that a part of your TBM practice, and how TBM is basically like the opening, the crack in the door to start to explore that more and understand your specific relationship to spirituality. I know for me, having the framework, even having the monthly check-in, what is coming up for me? How can I be accountable to the things happening in my life? And how can I actually see how I might be supported by my spiritual practice, spiritual belief in this month? It like allows you a framework that you can pull in whatever belief system you have into it. Have you ever experienced hair thinning, your hair falling out in the shower, trying to grow thicker, fuller hair, but it feels kind of lifeless or limp? Or maybe your hair is super greasy like mine is prone to be, or has flakes in it. At this point, you guys have heard me express my profuse love for Acton Acres product line. It has been so incredible supporting my hair growth journey and really addressing the root of the problem. Because at TBM, we like to get down to the root. There are so many different hair care supplements and products on the market, but what I loved about Acton Acre and what made it truly stand out is their founder, Helen Reevy, is a board-certified trichologist who really understands the scalp and how the scalp's microbiome impacts how your hair grows. So she created an entire line of products to support your scalp health, which will in turn support your hair growth. It's not just getting the vitamins in, although that's part of it. It's about a holistic approach to scalp care. It's like skincare for your scalp. And I know you guys can't see me on the podcast, but for those of you who follow me on Instagram, the number one question I get asked when I hop on stories is like, what did you do with your hair? Because it is growing so long and luscious. Baby hairs that sprouted just a few months ago, right along the front of my hairline, are like already full on side bangs at this point. It's growing so rapidly. And I really attribute it to this routine with Actinaker. 20 minutes before I shower, I put in their scalp detox. This is really the baseline of scalp health. This helps remove the impurities, the sweat, the buildup. If you use products, if you're in a place with high pollution or bad air quality, anything can get trapped around in your hair. And especially because I have super long hair now, making sure I clear all of that so my scalp is detoxed and cleansed properly, because most shampoos do not do this for you. So I put that on first. That is like my entry point to healthy scalp. Then if my hair is still greasy for some reason, maybe I'm touching it too much, I'm playing with it, it gets extra greasy, maybe dries out, flaky, I'll use their salicylic acid scalp exfoliator. It used to be called their Scalp Renew. I swear by this product. You only need to use it maybe once, twice a week max, and just put it on 20 minutes again before you shower instead of your scalp detox that day. Rub it in with your fingers, and the next wash, you will notice a difference in your scalp. It will be way less greasy, more buoyant, more full of life, and less dull. It also gives my hair more volume. I swear by this product so much. And then their third product, which I've been testing out and loving the effects of, is their stem cell scalp serum. Now, this is something where it's really going to help you grow that thicker, fuller hair. I have very fine, thin hair. And so there's certain areas of my hair that I want to boost a little bit more volume in. And so I'm starting to put it in those areas. It's formulated with Swiss apple stem cells, which are clinically proven to improve hair growth and boost thickness. And if you've been wanting to test out any of the Actinaker hair care or scalp care products, including their shower head, which I also swear by, they have their big birthday sale going on right now where you can get 30% off if you use code TBM30. That includes all of their products, including their scalp relief system, which includes their scalp detox oil, salicylic acid scalp exfoliator, and their stem cell scalp serum. This is like the best deal, guys. I'm telling you, it is such a good time to buy. If you've been thinking about getting it, now is the time. If you have any questions on any of the products, feel free to DM me. I'm happy to chat with you through them. I'm obsessed with everything Actinaker does. So head over to Actinaker, that's ACTANDACRE.com, and use code TBM30 at checkout for 30% off, or check the link in the show notes to direct you right there. Once their sale is over, you can use code TBM20 for 20% off. Enjoy. How do you see universe when we're bringing it down to manifestation speak and tests and working with us? And we talked about this in our recent episode about like reframing the test as the opportunity, as the potential to pivot, to shift, to move in a different direction, to overwrite those limiting beliefs. But I think that is where that faith piece, that is where that trust muscle piece comes in with the universe, because it's like, we think we know what's best for us. And a lot of times we're operating on autopilot, on old pathways. But it's like when we can set that intention and put it out there to the universe that this is what my soul is calling for. This is from a place of true authenticity. This is what I want. And then it's going to help us connect to it. How can we then see those tests as those beautiful moments to fortify and shift the things that need to shift in order for us to get there?
This is something actually, a conversation I had with a friend recently. We were just having a general conversation about TBM, and I was like, we've gotten extremely science heavy and psychology heavy, which I appreciate because it made things accessible to audiences that may not have accessed this work out of the limited view of prior. It was not super spiritual, but it didn't have that, and it was a little bit more of a spiritual touchstone. And it's funny because I was like, I think Jessica is really great for this sector of things. She's like, loves the science, loves learning about, the psychology, whereas I don't even retain a lot of it. But that's also because I'm someone who's privileged enough, to have always been pretty connected to my intuition. I wasn't raised with a tremendous amount of programming against it. And I was also raised by a medium and a very spiritual grandmother. So for me, a lot of my issues were getting through my blocks, right? To being able to see how magic worked. But if you're looking at something just like how, gold melts under fire and gold is the most beautiful. So if you're looking at most transformations and molecular things that happen in our universe on a scientific level happen through transformation. So it's not crazy to me that when I started to figure out tests in this process, that of course that's something that happens, in manifestation, that it isn't just think positive. But because we've experienced pain, shame, and programming, most of us aren't in a place of living in that frequency. Therefore, I had to come forward with this process that actually explores, like science, the positive and negative of everything. So it's not crazy to me that we would experience magic darts and tests. If you're reading the Bible, that it's littered with that. I mean, you know a lot more than we do, Janelle, about the hardships people go through before the magic happens. But it's ultimately about infinite trust.
The trust muscle is sort of like your strengthening of the belief system of yourself and the universe at the same time. As you're learning the process, yes, you're trusting this process, but you're trusting yourself. I remember one of the first major manifestations I called in with TBM was working with TBM, in fact. And when I was going through that, there were so many moments where I was like, oh, is this just silly? Am I kidding myself? What am I doing? Blah, blah, blah. Should I just give up all this stuff and go back to settling for the jobs that I was getting before? It's so scary to take a leap of faith on yourself, on your wants, on your desires, on your authenticity. But when you follow the process, it was right before my magic dark as that questioning happened. And it was the first time I had to really remember, okay, what are the times that I took a chance on myself? What are the times that I decided I'm going to move to LA from New York City and live across the country from all of my friends and family? When I took a chance and went away to college when all my friends were going 30 minutes down the road. All those moments where you just had that inner knowing, that inner calling that this path is for you, even though it's so new, it's so unexpected. Sometimes it feels the antithesis of ease, because ease is doing what everyone else is doing, and it feels like you have to go in this new direction, but it feels right. That is that trust muscle of okay, when I know what is an inner knowing, a truth for me in my soul, in my heart, and I follow action behind it and follow the steps in the manifestation process, unblock and all of that, you have that reward on the other side. You have that manifestation. The more you can do that, the more you see you can do that, the more you trust it. And thank God I didn't give up all of those times, because look at all the amazing, beautiful things I've manifested, and more importantly, how I've grown. So it's just so interesting thinking of that trust muscle is really fortifying self-belief.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting too. I've had current tests with my trust muscle right now. I'm wanting to have, calling in a new office space. And the process has been long and grueling and is taking forever. And it's painfully slow. And I've had all sorts of different stuff that has come up with it. And there was one point I was in a shame hole, oh, it's not coming quick, and this means that about me. And I'm oh, that's ridiculous. And I had to name it and go, nope. And this last month, I've been sitting in a space of, you know what? There's more going on here that I can't see. And I believe I'm actually being protected by the universe, and the universe's divine timing, rather than this waiting period meaning something negative about me. I'm oh, I don't know what's happening beyond the scenes, but I trust you. I trust you that you're going to take care of me. And even though this waiting is hard, I trust in your divine timing. Oh, it's been so healing for me to sit in that for the first time and not have this shame around the wait.
And that is fortifying that trust muscle. It's do you know that you're deserving even when you're waiting? You're not bad. Nothing's wrong with you. You're not broken. You are just learning lessons, evolving, moving along. There's divine timing. There's things behind the scenes. There's all these factors at play. Keep showing up, keep facing your tests and triggers and feeling your emotions and showing up with authenticity, and it will come. It always, always does. It's wild.
Yeah, it does. And in the right timing.
It's always hindsight being 2020, but that's also one of the strongest places you can build that trust muscle is looking back and be like, well, that did work out not the way I initially wanted the timeline to be, but the timeline that I actually truly needed.
Yeah, exactly. You can start developing that trust muscle so that when it does come time to surrender and trust your higher power, you can wait without spinning out and not settle. One thing I love about TBM and psychology and all of it is just what I was taught growing up is like, oh, you believe the right thing and then you're a good person and then whatever. And there was no real actually looking inward and there was no actual embodiment. And so I think why I love psychology so much, why I love TBM so much is that at the end of the day, if we're not actually connecting with our inner child and doing our shadow work and looking at our stuff, there's no move forward of consciousness at all. And you could put that in New Age spirituality, you could put it in some religions, and absolutely there are people doing work in those places too. But I just deeply believe that the universe, God, source, is trying to get us all to upgrade our consciousness. And if we don't look inward, and if we are spiritual bypassing on any level, we will never get there. We're just never going to get there. So we're not ever really going to connect to these things without doing our inner work first. I love the accountability of doing the inner work more than just I believe the right thing, so boom. It's like literally my body goes through a reaction when I think of just living disconnected from self or disconnected from accountability, personal accountability and personal integrity. All of that stuff is so repelling to me. And so there's no shortcuts. You can't skip something. It really holds you to the accountability to have to peel off all these layers and soften, heal. I love, love, love anything that is connected to those concepts. I'm like, yes, that registers as true for me, where we're not outsourcing our power to any one person and we're keeping ourselves in radical responsibility. Yes, sign me up.
Now we're at a place in our evolution, in our society, in our collective consciousness, all of that, where you can't not evolve. Life is going to continue to happen. The pace of change is going to come faster and faster and faster. And we're going to have to evolve to keep up with that consciousness, to keep up with the energy that's coming in all around us. And I think about, the Clear Your Aura DI that we'll talk about at the end of this episode, but how it's so important to have a check-in for, okay, what is my energy? What is me? What is my authenticity? Who am I amongst all this interconnection at the same time too?
Totally. With the TBM, everyone understands the reprogramming and all of the psychology pieces. But for some, it can be a tricky thing to then develop a trust muscle with the universe. What does that mean? Some people have a complicated relationship based off of their religious history or trauma, and then to go and say, okay, we have to then develop this trust muscle. It can be, for some, a tender process or wait, what are you talking about process, So what's so beautiful about TBM is it doesn't matter whether you are currently practicing organized religion or spirituality or come from a completely agnostic background and you're just a subscriber of energetics, to then go, okay, I'm still playing with this thing that's bigger than me, trusting it.
What I'm also taking away from this and thinking about is the other forms of manifestation that are, just sit in the positive and blah, blah, all of that. I don't even know if that's even really possible because we're human. And because we're human, we have all of the pain, shame, programming, generational traumas, past lifetime trauma, like whatever it is, like we are in a human form that is all feeling, tons of emotions. There is just a lot going on having our own spiritual energies in a physical body. And because of that, if we don't look at the inner work, if we don't look at what the landscape is and our neural wiring and all of those things, we literally can't evolve, like you're saying, Janelle, too. The beautiful part of it is accepting that we are human. We are going to have to face these challenges, and no one is immune to that. We will all face those inner challenges. We will all run up against our tests and our rock bottoms and our ruts and our magic darks. That is just an inevitable part of life. But how beautiful to have this belief system in something that you're not going through it alone, and you're not going through it for no reason or because you're a bad person or because you're being punished. You're going through it because you're being asked to change your story, to change your narrative, to become the person that you've always wanted to be, to align with your authenticity. You get a gift at the other end of it.
You're invited. It's an invitation, and then you receive a gift. It's quite incredible, really. By now, you're starting to get the feel for TBM. Maybe you've heard about our workshops and you're interested in manifestation, but you just don't have the time or energy to sit down and do self-help work. We totally get it. In fact, that's why we created the Daily Practice, which is our massive library of self-hypnosis tracks that you can do anytime without having to jump into a workshop. We call these tracks our deep imaginings, or DIs. DIs are different than normal meditations because we designed them using a combination of self-hypnosis techniques, deep theta waves, EMDR-informed tools, and somatic experiencing. A fully loaded formula that is scientifically proven to help you clear your blocks and triggers on a subconscious level, giving you the power to actually create new neural pathways in your brain. So if your boss pisses you off, use our trigger DI. If you want to feel magnetic before a party or an important meeting, use the magnetic self DI. If you're feeling anxious or down on yourself or you need help making a decision, we've got a DI for all of these scenarios and more. You can get full access to the Daily Practice inside the Pathway membership, where you'll also get unlimited access to every workshop, tool, and offering from TBM. The tools in the Pathway membership will support you year-round, whether you're in the worst, a rock bottom, or second worst, a rut, or feeling good and you want to keep the magnetism going. In the Pathway, you'll effectively learn how to become your own manifestation coach, all for less than $1 a day. So even if you're not ready to start a workshop, join the Pathway and start rewriting your neural pathways now to create magnetism. Work through your triggers and get closer to your authentic magnetic self in order to manifest. Use our special code MAGNETIC, all caps, MAGNETIC, to receive $20 off your first TBM purchase. Again, that's all caps, MAGNETIC. Now back to the episode.
Bringing you back to the challenge we're going to be doing at the end of the year is really about rooting us back down to our authenticity, getting really clear on what are the things that are in the way. We're going to touch on authenticity in a whole nother episode coming soon, so you guys can really understand the difference between authenticity as a buzzword and authenticity as a true embodiment, like we're talking about here. And we're going to take you through how to make your manifestation list from this place of authenticity, how to understand what is authentic to you and what is not. What are all the places you're people pleasing? We will walk you through that with this year's end of year challenge. But the first little exercise we wanted to gift you guys is one of the biggest, honestly, the first spot I can tell when I'm not in my authenticity is when I feel people's energy. And my energy feels so dense. So Lacy, this was birthed out of your practice, but we have the new Clear Your Aura Deep Imagining.
Yes. As you all can tell from this episode, something I've been really craving from TBM is, or something that I just practice personally a lot, just as a very psychic, intuitive person, is I clear my field all the time. So we were on a conversation with the team recently, and I was just like, man, I really am craving DIs like we had in the beginning a little bit more when we weren't as science and psychology heavy, because it's what I personally practice. So I don't want to have to go somewhere else or just lead myself through it in my mind. And that's how we had a few of the people on the team be like, oh my gosh, me too. We're craving that too. Like just simply clearing our aura. You know what I mean? Like just keeping things clean. And in manifestation, we talk a lot about our aura needs to be big enough to receive this. Our nervous system needs to be able to handle this. And I personally, Janelle, it'd be so interesting because you're doing so many somatic studies right now, but I truthfully see our aura as an extension of our nervous system. When I psychically look into it from a place of manifestation, to me, it seems like as if our nerves were continuing outward all around us. Because it's all that. It's what we're feeling, we're discerning, it's affecting how we're feeling, how we're responding. And for me, I need all that shit clear. And if we were to put it more in a psychology, I need that stuff regulated. And I just don't need interference with it. So at the rate of connection, we're all so connected now. Even when I live on my isolated hill in Topanga, I can feel, even me just being on Instagram one day a week now, I feel everything so fully. And so I look at it as energetic hygiene. And so that's what has birthed this new DI. So I'll let you guys take it from there a little bit.
So the concept of auras has been around for many cultures. They describe it in different ways. You can have your prana, you can have in Christian religion, they describe the coronas of light. Kabbalists have the astral light. Buddhist, Hindu, Tao, so many different Native American tribes, they all have this light body, this energy field, using different terminology, this luminous fact. In one book, they reference the future science that 97 different cultures reference a human aura in some way, shape, or form. And really the way I kind of see it is like the energetic field that surrounds your body. And a lot of the literature on this says that it is reflective of your emotional, mental, and spiritual state. So if you are in sort of disarray, or if you are not processing emotions, your aura might be weaker or porous or absorbing other people's energy with a lot of consciousness of understanding you're taking on other people's energy. And how do you clear that off? Pause in a moment to just say, okay, I just feel like I am not attuning to what's happening inside. And because I'm not attuning to what's happening inside, I am just allowing all this energy to kind of come in. Maybe you're just a very sensitive, intuitive being and you naturally can pick up on a lot of people's energy. How do you take a moment to just clear it off, to say, okay, I'm going to fortify this energy field again. I'm going to sit with what's happening inside. I'm going to fortify my emotional, mental, and spiritual state. So when I go out and interact in the world or go on social media, you can have that energy field be really, really strong and vibrant. How do you see it, Janelle?
That's all really beautiful. I remember hearing that kids stay in your aura up to when they're 7 years old. Since we're such sensitive little sponges with whether it's media or interactions or wherever we are, I love that we have this tool available to, again, how can you connect to your authenticity if you're not clear on your own energy, right?
It's like the first step. What do you guys feel like when your aura and your energetic field just feels like you're not in your center with it?
When I am being tested a lot is especially when I'm needing to have a lot of auric hygiene. I have to because I'm like, how much of these tests are coming my way based on an initiation I've made towards a manifestation, and how much are coming because of the collective atmosphere we're in right now. May it be astrological. So for me, when things feel heavier or a lot of tests are happening in my realm or collectively, that's when I know I 100% have to get into the practice of auric hygiene. I have to, because none of that has to be true for me. None of that has to be true for my family. When I say none of that, I mean, even we'll hear, Mercury retrograde is a great example. When that's going on, people are like, oh my God, it's Mercury retrograde. And something I learned a long time ago, I've talked about a lot on the podcast, I prosper so much during Mercury retrograde. The shadow phases definitely hit me a little bit, but it wasn't until I unplugged from a lot of the narratives out there and started to practice auric hygiene is what I call it. I was also just a boat in the ocean, like just in a storm, And so I think it's another level, just like all of the work we teach, it's another way to take back our power, root down, and dip into our authenticity, getting back to that word. So for me, I am mostly, when somebody's listening right now and they're like, oh, I'm not as in touch with my intuition and stuff. How do I know if my aura needs to be cleaned and blah, blah, blah? If you're feeling the heaviness of things, or you're getting a lot of tests, or you're getting bat around like a boat in the ocean, that's when the signal's very loud. I think everybody could benefit from clearing their aura every day, but that's especially when you need to unplug from everything. It's like a magic dark when you just really root down and take all of your power back and make sure your field is very firm and not porous. What about you two?
The physical sensation is like brain fog and cloudiness. I can't even register what is true for me. Whereas I'm very gut oriented. It's a very clear yes or no. If it's not a clear yes or no, I'm like, well, this and well, that. I'm in this mental game and I'm like, oh wait, that is not me. I don't know what I'm taking on right now. I need to just kind of calm everything down, slow everything down. Also, I get a lot of back and neck tension. It's like this weight is sitting on me and I'm like, what is going on? And I swear to you, I've been starting to do the practices that we're putting in this DI. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it must have been an energetic, emotional burden that I was just letting pressure on my shoulders. Yeah, I get a lot more physical sensations. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, this is not mine to hold on to right now. I think also feeling disconnected from your pings or your intuition. If you're like, I can't get a clean read on it, there's too much stimulation, there's too much input. How do I close down lines of communication, get in quiet, get off social media, get off the internet, and just tune in? And then it's like, oh, okay, that's the clarity. That's the thing I need to do. That's the route I need to go. When there's too much input, it's like static. You can't really process what the truth is beneath everything.
Agreed.
What about you, Janelle?
Same. It feels heavy. There's also a little bit of buzzy anxiety where I'm like, what? I feel pulled down. And to me, it's like wiping off all the mud and getting back into connected with self, but also my energetic boundaries. If I'm holding or taking a kind of over responsibility for something, or even energetically holding somebody else's stuff, and it's a very loving, I'm going to give their stuff back to them because I don't have the power to change or heal anyone that way. I remember doing it a lot, honestly, as a new therapist at the end of the day. I'd have my own little made up ritual where I would Palo Santo and myself, and I would think of each client and just kind of send them love, release them to do their work and not hold it for myself.
I had to do that too when I worked with people, because I was finding I was psychically trying to solve their blocks and tests and things for them. Now they know what the next steps are. They need to go do those on their own.
That is so good. Because I think about whenever I answer questions on social media or DMs, I love doing it. But I've noticed my energy gets really tired after. I'm still wow, okay, maybe she actually needs to do this. Or how should I, it's still sitting in my field that needs to just like, okay, I sent you my quick thoughts. You can take it from here.
But that is, remember, like as a team, TBM, for being really transparent, worked with a witch for a bit. I work with her as well. Mm-hmm. And yeah, she used to do a lot of grid clearing for us and protection around social media and just stuff like that. Because, you know, when we're that connected with people, it just sticks with us, good or bad. Every time I'm clearing my aura in a meditation, I'm like, you know, any energetic hooks, good or bad, I'm unhooking you and sending you back now. All energy goes back to its original space. It's just important. We're so much more connected. That's what goes without saying. But if you get really deep of how connected we are energetically, not just technologically, it's so much more. There was a point where we didn't even know who lived on another continent. You know what I mean? The level of connection is just so deep. And at the end of the day, we're energetic beings, and it's important to have energetic autonomy from everybody have it from each other, and connection at the same time, but permitted.
I remember I was working with like an energy healer clearer, and she was like, you have such thick cords in your shoulders. And she was like, it's all, you know, whatever. And I was like, well, is that going to disconnect me from the people I love? Is that my connection to my loved ones? And she was like, no, this is not the type. This is like a meshed connection, a connection that is draining energy from you. If you are in your own energy, then you can help support them from afar by just you being in your own energy. You can't support them if you're enmeshed and connected to them in that way. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Totally agree.
Oh, I'm so excited for this one. This is going to be huge. And this is going to be one that we're offering to all of our members and non-members. So if you've never done a TBM Deep Imagining before, you want to test it out for free, check the link in the show notes. Just sign up there and you can get access to the Clear Your Aura DI. It's a nice, quick one and will leave you feeling absolutely incredible after.
I'm excited.
Yes. Thank you both for journeying on this very nuanced and depth and ethereal conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jessica, for putting it together. And Janelle, as always, joining. Just such beautiful, soothing insight always.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I hope you all enjoyed that episode as much as we did. And if you're starting to get a feel for this to be magnetic manifestation process, but aren't completely sold yet, let me point you to some of our free offerings. You can check out the expanded podcast episode called How to Manifest Anything You Desire, where Lacy, the founder, and I break down exactly what this process is all about. You can check out The Motivation, which is our testimonial library with thousands of testimonials of people who have manifested wild things using this process. Or you can check out our free mini workshop to find out why you're not manifesting and listen to one of our proprietary Deep Imagining audios, where it's going to help you drop into your theta state and overwrite low self-worth limiting beliefs. Enjoy. We'll see you next week.